So I'll start with the first question, Madison. Madison, you're an actress, a producer, and a figure skater. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to the extraordinary ordinary.
Awesome. Okay. So I originally met Natalie through a filmmakers, actors Facebook group, and I had auditioned for the short film version of Extraordinary Ordinary. And unfortunately, when they wanted to shoot that, I was shooting my ice skating movie in Colorado. So there was a time conflict. Then when I got back from filming that, she had then decided within that time frame to turn it into a feature. And she asked if I'd be interested in helping produce on the feature, and then if I would still be interested in the role of Erica. So that's sort of how that went about.
Very cool. And you moved forward with it, and it was something that you wanted to do and felt that it was something.
Yeah, it was really beautiful. I thought the script was honest and sincere and very well crafted. I thought Natalie had so much talent, and I was really excited to work with her. And it's been all good things since.
Super cool, super cool. Okay, so John, here's your question. John, you're an actor, a screenwriter, acting coach, and the lead actor of the global successful one-man show, Father, Son, Holy Coach. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to the extraordinary ordinary.
I think Natalie saw that play. I think that's what introduced us. That Father, Son, and Holy Coach, which is a solo journey, solo play I've been doing for 25 years. I brought it back to LA. It had been a while, found a couple of theaters, and we wanted to sort of do something new. And I think she came and saw it. And I also think she may have been talking to one of my boys, both of whom are seasoned actors, about possibly getting involved in the film. And I think my youngest son may have done the short version that Madison's talking about. And I've been at her a long time, 30 plus years, and I do teach a lot of young people acting. And I just think it's nice to be able to help young filmmakers who are trying to create something, just as I would hope anybody might come on board and help me, whether it's by throwing in a free camera or their work, or an actor who might work on a lesser pay scale just to help get something started. And I saw the sincerity of what she was writing, and some of these smaller, newer films, the roles can be really quite interesting, maybe even more so than a lot of the guest work I do on TV. So I, yeah, let me come in and help and see if I can make something of it. And so I said it was nothing to say yes and watch these guys do their thing. It's stuff that I was doing 30 years ago.
Very cool. That's awesome. And Madison, for both of you guys, what is your fondest memory on set?
It's really tough to pick one memory. Just when you make a film and you're in the trenches together as a team like that, you sort of develop a family. So I think there's definitely something special to the last shot, when you sort of have this relief that, wow, we have it in the can. Like, we took the story and we put it in here, and now, yeah, we edit it, but that magic of being on set together, creating something is over. So it's bittersweet. It's exciting, but also kind of sad.
Yeah, like coming together, being like a family,
yeah,
towards a common goal and being creative together. What about you, John? What is your memory on set?
I think it might be, since I'm a writer and an actor, and I just said to Natalie, some improvisation, and every now and then to might try to find maybe some comedy where I can. I think one of the things I teach is that with any, and I'm not the first guy to say this, but try to find the comedy and the drama and the drama and the comedy if you can, because that's real nature. So while scenes with Madison and the mom and we're going back and forth on things, I kind of found it fun just to throw something out there that may not have been in the script, that might throw somebody off or throw me off, or just have a moment of amusement in an otherwise heated discussion, which is real. And I think a few of them ended up in the film, and I just thought it was fun, and I hope it added to it.
And Natalie, as a director, she was open to that, to those suggestions and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think so. Natalie, I'm a writer, and being young, I think there were times when she would ask me, "What do you think about this or this?" And you're playing I'm playing a supporting role in this case, a dad, but we had Madison and I had some real nice moments that went a little counter to the mom, who was a little closed off about everything. And I've known that relationship where the mom has a much tougher relationship with the daughter than the dad does. And the dad seems to say all the right things, even though it irritates the mom. And so I kind of recognized the character a little bit. And I just thought, well, we can have some fun within the argument, within the pain of what might have happened to her and what happened to Madison, just to keep a nice level and some layers of the dad's a little bit of a goofball on top of being an honest guy and then having to listen to mom as well as helping Madison, knowing what she's been through. So I enjoyed the process. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, I love that. I love the scene in the trailer when she says to me, she has a boyfriend, and you go, why does she need a boyfriend when she has us? And you say, because that's the same thing.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, like that's the same thing. Yeah, that's yeah, yeah. And so I think I can't remember how much of that Natalie had in, or if I got farther into the story, I thought, all right, this guy needs to take more of Madison's side. But very often, in a lot of relationships, the dad is the one that says, hey, whatever you guys want is fine with me. I just want a beer and a TV and a ball game. So I was kind of playing, I was playing a little bit of that, but at the same time understanding what Madison was going through. But I thought it might be fun. And in particular, as a writer, as a guy who's written both theater and TV and screen, all three, is that within any argument, there's always something that other people watching might laugh. The two punchers aren't laughing, but the people on the side are going, "Ooh, wow, that was fun." Mm-hmm. And so I hope I could bring a couple of moments of that to the screen to help just sort of even everything out.
That's awesome. So Madison, did that help? Like, does that help when you guys are like working together? That energy, that improv, coming in with those new lines. Did it kind of?
Of course, no.
What was that like? That's what I'm trying to ask.
I get it. Well, first of all, it was a huge honor to get to work with somebody like John, who has such a diverse background as not just an accomplished actor, but a filmmaker. Because when you have somebody acting with you that is cognizant of all those other pieces of it, it just makes the experience that much richer. Like he was saying, the fact that he has the background in writing makes him make these choices as an actor that then inspire me when I'm acting in scenes with him. And I really enjoyed the moments where we could find the joy and the pain. We have a lot of serious conversations in the film. There's one point where I'm at a particularly low moment, and I can't remember how it started, but we sort of started riffing about how, we were going to go get like breakfast or lunch, and one of us had the idea to say like, well, why don't we get all three, and it brought out this sort of like smile of like, that is something I would do with my dad. Like my dad personally, we have trouble sometimes connecting just because, I'm a woman, he's a man, we don't see the world the same way, but the things that we can always like relate on are like food. Like my dad is like, I can feed her, I can fix problems with food, so I thought that was a sweet example of finding not just the comedy in the drama, but finding the heart in the drama, which there's so much heart in Extraordinary Ordinary.
Very cool. And this leads me to the next question, Madison. The Extraordinary Ordinary deals with some important social issues, including anxiety, depression, grief. Tell us, what's the most challenging part to bring Erica to life?
Erica has a lot of different layers to her. I think one of the traps that actors face when they're asked to play somebody who is struggling with some mental health issues is this trap to become overly indulgent in the issues themselves. Whereas in real life, my own personal experiences with mental health, people that I admire, most of the time those individuals are just trying to live their lives and achieve their goals. And so the mental health issues are the obstacles, but they're not the star of the show. They're not their life. They're not living for those obstacles. And so I wanted to make sure that I was playing Erica as fighting towards other goals and fighting to keep her relationship strong throughout this, not just let me be on the camera and indulge in the misery of how depressed, look at how well I can act depressed, So I think that was the biggest thing and it's a tribute to how well Natalie wrote Erica. She wrote her as a strong sort of victor personality to start with. So that was very helpful.
And also, Joy, if I can answer on that as well,
Yeah, same to you. Same
somebody,
to you.
somebody who coaches young actors, and just recently, I coupled two or three young teenagers came to me with the role where it says the girl does have some sort of bipolar issues that makes her a little defensive. And what worked when Madison did that, you're right, you don't want to show that. You don't want to come on stage and say, hey, I'm bipolar, or hey, I'm this, or hey, I have this anxiety. It mostly shows just in her quietness, her hesitation with things. Madison has a soft personality and kind of a soft voice, and as she just kind of moved around and kind of looked around and sort of stopped and started, not quite sure what to say next. That to me was all I needed to know, that she was struggling with stuff and wasn't the cheery cheerleader, hey, what's happening? Let's go party and that kind of stuff. She was very, a little bit, not shut down, but just to play someone who clearly they have a little internal anxiety that prevents them from being very bubbly and open. So it's more slightly detached, I think is the word I'm looking for. And that's how you would play somebody like that. So you're not leaving it on the camera that, oh man, she's got mental problems or she has an issue, she has anxiety, unless there is a scene that calls for her to have a meltdown. Otherwise, just the way that Madison played it, which made it easy for me to want to be there comforting, because I knew she was struggling even though she was trying to be herself. So
Okay, and even talking about these issues like anxiety and all these things, I guess I want to ask this for both of you again. This goes to both of you. How did you guys cope with your own wellness while filming this project?
Well, I think, and I'm sure John has a similar perspective to this as well, but for me personally, we're professionals, we're actors, and so it's a part, it's a role, and there are certain ways that we go about approaching it that are not any different than we would go about approaching another role. I think it's important just for the health and good of the film as a whole to be able to be professional about it. I think it did hit in some darker areas with me, so I had to really up my self-care during filming. I had to make sure I was getting proper sleep. I had to make sure if I was maybe getting triggered by something that I picked up the phone and called a friend, just up the self-care. But by and large, just being a professional and remembering that I'm playing a role and this isn't my life, this is the role, was important for my process.
and I'm one of those guys that sadly doesn't have any anxiety. I had like the happiest childhood, nothing. I'm like the most mellow guy in the planet. But what I have done over the many years, which helps me on stage and helps me in front of a camera, is I really truly observe people, constantly observing. Ever since I was a kid, just watching and observing, and mannerisms and people and all, and I've known enough people from all walks of life. um, I was the poor kid who went to a private school because my dad was the headmaster of the school. They paid him no money, but I was surrounded by the richest kids on the planet. And so it was a very weird upbringing where I had a weird relationship with wealth and who those kids were versus me, thinking I came from the wrong side of the railroad tracks. But I took it all in as just educational. And so rather than having to reach in as some actors will to say, I need, or in Madison's case, I didn't really have to, or you have to reach in for something very deep and dark to take you there. In my case, sometimes if the writing's there, I have no problem finding it. It didn't need to be for me. This was at Madison's. It was more for me to be there to, although my wife and I had kind of a bizarre relationship that wasn't real clean. It was back and forth. But it was just easy to play because I think I knew who those people were. And if I have to go to places that Madison had to, I get it in the writing. I really do. So if you have good words to begin with and a good story to begin with, and if the writer or the director doesn't mind you adding a moment or two that can help you, then I'm always looking for something like that that might even be as far away from me as possible. And I think Madison would agree that anytime you can play somebody that's way far away from you, it's more interesting than playing you.
Yeah.
And so even if you're really interested, man, let me play the psycho, let me play this guy, let me play somebody who's so far removed from me. And in this case, in Natalie's film, he was a lot like me, but the wife relationship was didn't, and I didn't have daughters, although I will shortly.
Nice.
I've been widowed for 6 years and I'm getting married to my agent, who has 3 daughters, all under the age of 18. So it's going to be a brand new experience for me. So I'm beginning to sit back and watch the drama of teenage girls in my house that I've never had before, because I raised 2 boys who are now in their 20s, and that's a hugely different energy. So it's very entertaining.
That's awesome. And actually, this brings me to the next question, John. John, you're a father of 2 talented actors, Tyler Posey from Teen Wolf and Jesse Posey from Netflix, Selena.
Selena, which isn't aired yet. It would have aired if COVID hadn't hit, but I think he's going back to work actually next week to quarantine for a little bit and get back and finish their last 6 episodes. And then I think
that is awesome. I'm actually excited to watch that. Growing up, did you want them to get into the industry? And as a father, what is some advice you can give regarding that?
Well, I knew right off the bat that if they wanted to, they'd have to tell me. You never want to push a kid into the business. I've been around too many kids who didn't want it and their parents wanted it, and I could see it in their eyes when I was on set with them. In the case of Tyler, he would come with me as a kid because he wanted to. He'd hang around the set. He'd ask really weird questions for a 5-year-old kid about lighting and blocking and this and that. And I thought, oh, man, I know where this kid's headed. And the agents that I had knew him. He was a really cute kid. And they said, does he have any interest? And he said yes. Jesse, on the other hand, did not have much interest. He did a little bit at the age of 6 and didn't like it much and kind of walked away from it and played baseball all the way through college. And that was his thing. Jesse's only been back in the business 2 or 3 years. But what I was able to help Tyler with, and by the way, Tyler did a great transition from kid actor to adult actor. He's doing very well right now. He's waiting to go to work. He's sitting,
Did you help him with that? Did you coach him through that? Or
I coached him. Like I thought I certainly wouldn't want to send an 8-year-old kid to an acting school because I don't know what you teach an 8-year-old kid. I basically told Tyler one thing: listen to everything they say and then answer truthfully. Which is a pretty good piece of advice for anybody. But as an 8-year-old, he could get that. But, he was good with young guys work because directors find out whether or not they can take the direction. They don't expect an 8-year-old kid to walk in a room with 20 choices like an adult actor would have. It's a matter of, are you a sweet kid? Are you the right kid for the role? Would you mind working with this kid for 6 weeks? And can he take direction? Tyler found that he loved the process. Jesse didn't. He did a little bit and said, Dad, I'm done. At the age of 7, I think he retired, which is kind of funny. Everybody made He had a Super Bowl commercial once, and when everybody saw it, they clapped and screamed so loud he ran up to his room, slammed the door, and wouldn't come out for the day. So he decided he was done. And then at the age of 21, he said, I think I'm back in again. And he's actually very good. And Tyler's been working nonstop since he was, I want to say, 8. Yes, Teen Wolf, 6 years of Teen Wolf, Made in Manhattan, Collateral Damage, Truth or Dare, Jane the Virgin. He was the lead in Teen Wolf. And he now, at the age of 28, he says, this is all I know. I better keep it going. This is what I do. And he's also directed and he's written, knows how to use a camera. So what I could do as a dad in the business would make sure they weren't being treated poorly. Because I know a lot of kids, you've seen stories, you've seen documentaries of TV kids who were kind of tossed to the side after they were no longer needed, or things that happened to them were unpleasant. Tyler was treated very well. My wife, when she was alive, she was a great stage mom and made sure he was protected because he shot overseas. He shot in Canada. They have slightly different rules. But what I said to them, which I think every parent should tell a kid, is treat people coming up the ladder as you would treat them coming down, because you never know when things are going to be moving up and down, and you may be on your way down. Have respect, have humility. It's a weird business, but there's no reason to be a bad dude. There's no reason to be a diva at any level. It just doesn't make any sense because there's too many jobs at stake. There's too many people that depend on you, whether it's hair, makeup, director, PA, assistant director, whoever it is, to come in and just be what I told Tyler, have a blue collar mentality. A blue collar mentality means you're a very reliable, hardworking actor. If you're not the star, then I'm a blue collar actor. I have a ton of credits, but they're not mostly starring. They're mostly featured, supporting, some starring. But for the most part, I'm a recurring guy that you can rely on to come in and fill roles that are needed. And both my guys took that to heart. I've heard people on the set say your kids have great humility. They're very polite and they treat everybody with respect. And that's all I wanted. That was more important to me than anything else, hearing that they took care of the people on the set. And that helps everybody enjoy everything because it's hard work. It's a grind. TV's a grind. Find some film actors that decided they'd try a career in TV and they run screaming after 6 episodes saying it's too much. So it's a lot of work. And so, you had the whole thing of homeschooling and traveling around the country in North America and South America. but they're great. They're really cool dudes, and they had to stop for a while. We stopped, but I was always there with them. I've worked with both of them on sets, and there's nothing more fun than being on the set with your kid as if he's another actor and just goofing around, and it's your kid. Half the people wouldn't even know he's my kid. You go, you taught her the same last time. I go, yeah, he's my kid. They go, really? Because we're just treating each other like buddies, So they took that to heart, and I'm real proud of the way they've treated everybody else in the set, and they're doing good work, and I think it shows. So that was fun for me to have two guys follow in my footsteps.
Yeah, great tip. That's awesome. That's super solid right there. I think that's very valuable just for people to take in and actually use that as they progress in their.
Yeah, and I coach a lot of kids, 8, 9, 10, 11, who are anxious and they're talented and they want to get in, and it's a struggle right now because they're waiting for the world to open back up again. They all want to get back in front of the camera. Yeah.
So Madison, I just heard you started your own podcast. Can you tell us about what that is and what you're up to?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I'm really excited because my interview with John is actually one of my favorite interviews so far.
We won already.
Yeah, I'm going to be releasing that very soon, probably in the next 2 weeks.
I want to hear it.
So basically, the series started off as just this idea that even though we're far apart from one another as artists, like our fondness for our art continues to grow with the distance. And it's really turned into something incredible. I've had 53 guests on the show. I've interviewed Academy Award-winning producers. I've interviewed Stanley Cup winners. So I have a really unique blend of artists and athletes talking about how they are keeping their goals going during quarantine.
That is awesome. And what's that been like with the interviews, talking to all the people during this time? What's that been like?
It's been very encouraging. Everybody has been positive. Everybody has been willing to be vulnerable about their experiences, but also not pessimistic. I think people that tune in will feel a little bit brighter and excited about pursuing their own goals, whether they directly pertain to you or not. Prior to this interview, I talked to Jim Brown, who is he's been in daytime soap operas as a writer for almost 40 years. And he's currently writing for Young and the Restless. And he had some really good tips on like plays that he recommends people check out. So I just think there's going to be something for everyone. Most of the interviews are pretty short. So yeah, if anyone's interested in listening, John and I's episode is lovely. Going to drop it in about 2 weeks. It's called Distance Makes the Heart Grow Fonder, and you can listen to it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
What is it called? This Makes the Heart Grow Fonder?
So Distance. Yeah.
Distance. Cool. All right. I'll definitely check it out. For sure.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
This leads me to the final question before we wrap this up. Again, guys, thank you guys for coming on. Final question for both of you. And I guess, Madison, since you're already speaking, we'll start with you. What advice do you have for our young viewers, kids, teens who are pursuing art and entertainment in 2020 and the future?
Yeah, I would say that it doesn't have to be perfect to start. Sometimes I think it can be overwhelming. Hollywood feels like it's way up here. And if you don't have an agent or if you don't know this and this gatekeeper, there's no way to make it happen. But I think just start putting pen to paper, start writing your own stories, watch films and television shows that inspire you with the mindset of not just watching shows, but seeing how do the actors act? How do they, respond to one another? Look up scripts, look up acting, at the Actors Studio. There's so many great resources, free resources on YouTube where you can watch interviews with award-winning actors. So I would say it doesn't have to be perfect to start. You just got to start and take advantage of the free resources that are out there for young creatives.
Nice. And John?
Same answer, Joey. Yeah, I started my career in Atlanta. I did that for a reason. I was a little afraid to come out where all the heavy activity was, and I thought, well, I can learn less competition and earn my union cards in Atlanta, and I did that. Now, I was in my early 20s, but the rules are the same. Dakota Fanning began in Atlanta because that's where she lived as a kid. But you can get a lot of work and a lot of true life experience without having to be here if you're not here. People are saying, gee, how do I get to LA? Well, if you're in New Orleans, North Carolina, if you're in San Francisco, Chicago, if you're in Atlanta, you can get a lot of work to learn the basics. There are probably great schools in those places. And if you're somebody who wants to go beyond regional theater, um, then you get to, there are at least, I think, I want to say 12 markets in America where they have Screen Actors Guild offices. So there's enough work going on, whether it's Denver, Atlanta, Philly, New York, San Francisco, San Diego, Arizona. It's out there. And there are people there. I have a lot of kids who come to me on Zoom who live right now in Australia, Dallas, Cincinnati. The interesting thing about Zoom is they'll come on and begin asking basic questions. And I have a slightly different style of acting technique for kids who are younger versus kids in their late teens, early 20s who might understand a slightly different conversation about, what's your intention in the scene, what's your objective, what are you thinking about, what might have happened before the scene, how do you feel about this? And then the things such as comedy timing and we just start. What I teach is sort of scene study, which means we just get right down to it. We'll get into scenes that are appropriate for a 10-year-old or an 18-year-old and just do them, and then do them again and do them again until it all starts to make sense. And so, you've got the basic education. And so when you walk into a room where casting directors and people are looking for anyone that could sort of fit the bill, you have the comfort to know what you're going to do once you get in the room, even if that is your first time. You've been at it in class. You've worked with some pretty good people. You know what terminology is. And then, but you don't have to be out here if that's not where you are right now. There's enough work being done in markets all over the country to allow you to get your feet wet and learn these things before you decide that New York or Chicago or LA or Atlanta or New Orleans is your final destination. And by the way, there's a lot going on there. You could actually do better in Atlanta than you can do in California. There's that much work going on. It's a lot cheaper to live. I know because I came from there, so I can talk about Atlanta freely because I was there before the market got huge. And it's huge for a reason. It has to do with tax credits. But anyway, that's another conversation. But there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on there.
Atlanta, there's a lot going on in Atlanta.
Yes. When they first shot Teen Wolf, the first 2 years were shot in Atlanta. 4 of the cast members who ended up being the parents were all Atlanta-based actors who ended up 6 years on a TV series because they were in Atlanta when they cast it. So you don't have to be hanging out in LA if you don't want to, or New York if it's too pricey and there's too many people and you want to get into a slightly smaller market where there's a lot going on. Louisiana and Georgia are 2 big ones. And there are others. Canada's another one. If you have Canadians who are listening to this, and now with this COVID, Canadians have a lot more opportunities than they used to have. They're going to be bringing fewer Americans to their American TV shows. So there's other places you can get a lot of education, learn, get good training. And now with Zoom, I'm telling you, in about 3 hours, I'm teaching 12 kids who live in Melbourne, Australia via Zoom. I do it every weekend. They came to me.
What's the time zone? Just curious.
17 hours difference. When I get on,
so you gotta do it at the same time?
Yeah, I get on at 5 o'clock my time, which is 10 o'clock Sunday their time. Tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock.
That's it, right?
So 17, I'm coming in the evening. Is their first thing after they've had their orange juice and cornflakes. They're having an acting class with me. So that's the interesting thing about Zoom is that the same stuff I've been teaching my guys in class, now we can, Zoom maybe offers you 80% because you can't actually physically be in a room with somebody. You're staring at a camera. But it sure goes a long way to showing me what you're thinking about this moment, how you're emotionally caught up. And, Madison and I could do the same thing we did in that movie on Zoom, and you could see it. And it would almost look like we're in the movie because you'd see her.
You did a movie on Zoom?
No, I'm saying if we were to do our scenes on Zoom in a Zoom class, you would look at it and say, well, that worked, even though we're not in the same room, but you could pull it off. Because of your imagination and thinking, okay, we are in the same room. We're supposed to be having this. We may not be able to hug, but we can certainly, play the intention of the scene. So, some kind of cool advantages to Zoom. And quite honestly, a lot of these actors, Madison and me included, have to become pretty good because this is the way, what we're doing right now, that we're going to be auditioning for the very near future and beyond. We don't know how long it's going to last, but you are not going to be in a room with a casting director sitting across from you. It's going to be me staring at a casting director in my computer, just like we're talking right now. So this kind of Zoom training, as much as I don't love it as an acting teacher who'd rather be sitting in the theater and having all the physical blocking that you want to have, it sure is going to help you now because this is the way we're going to audition.
And how can they find your classes? Is it on a website? What's your or,
That's an interesting question because for most of the last year, I've been teaching for another school, but I got a little freaked out when COVID started, so I opened up my own class. So I have it's johnposey.com is my website, and it talks just a lot about my acting career. But if you look carefully, it says he's now creating his own classes because, quite frankly, I'm not sure where this is all coming to play. So in addition to teaching for other people, I have my own. And the other place where I teach is called Gray Studios, which is a well-known school, mostly younger kids to teens. I have my own, but if they went to johnposey.com, there's even a way that they could connect with me on the website and ask more about these classes that I do have. And right now, everything is Zoom. I have a studio in West Hollywood, but I have not seen it in a while. And the other thing that we could talk about to anybody, Madison included, even though she's experienced, is this whole notion that now you have to self-tape yourself. So you have to be an expert with lighting, with cameras, with sound and everything. And you got to make this look good because you're not in their roam. So I got a lot of people who come to me because they don't know how to light. They don't know how to sound. Their parents are reading opposite them and their parents are terrible actors and they want to fire their parents and say, can you please read with me? Even if I throw you on Facebook, my mom can direct my audition, but somebody's got to read with me. So it's a whole new world of, and I don't mind. I mean, I'd rather be on a set making a movie, but I'm happy to help. And that's sort of where we are right now. Is people just don't quite know what to do. Obviously, Madison knows lighting and sound. I can see just by looking at her right here. And I've got two different studios where I light and shoot kids all the time. And it's once this city opens back up again, I could be wall to wall shooting, self-taping kids because that's it for now. And the interesting thing is you're kind of forcing you to direct yourself if there isn't a casting director on the other side. So there's a lot of you directing yourself, which is a brand new world for actors, rather than the casting director going, no, I don't like that, do this. You're doing it yourself.
So, guys, to wrap it up, any final words, final things that you guys want to share, want to say? It's all on you guys.
No, thank you so much for having us on the show. It's fun for us to talk about Extraordinary Ordinary. I think I speak for us both when we say this was a really special film, and we're excited for everybody watching this.
Really, there was a spark there. I think that's important. That's important. I agree.
Yeah, and it's a good little film, and it was nice to see because I know Natalie had spoken to me about the short version, the conversation, the screenplay. We probably sat down 6 or 7 times while I was doing other things. Her hoping that she could get this. And then one day she called and said, hey, we're up and running. Can you shoot it? Just so happens I could. And it worked out fine. And she had some good people on board behind the camera, a good crew. And so she's kind of relentless, which you sort of have to be. I mean, we're not competing with the studios. We're just trying to find an audience where people can say, hey, I like that. She's an original voice. And I think she's secured that. So I'm happy to be a part of it and chance to meet Madison. And it's always fun to hang with younger actors rather than people my own age if I have a choice. So.
You're 27, John. What are you talking about?
Yeah, be 46 next week. So I'm happy to be the dad, man. I have no problem with that. That's cool.
Very cool, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing. It's awesome. This is going to be up on the YouTube channel. If you guys want this, I could send it to you guys or anything like that. But nice to meet you. I met you on email, but nice to finally meet you guys.
Thank you.
And hopefully in person one day when we can all come together again.
When that time comes, yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. And good seeing you, Madison. Thanks, Joey.
Yeah. See you. Thank you so much, Joey. Take care.
Very nice Saturday.
Okay, you too. See you guys.